If your stomach feels bloated, heavy, or just off after eating, well, you've probably heard about SIBO and H. pylori. They can overlap, but they're not the same. So here are the 3 fastest ways to tell which one you actually have and what to do next. Let's start with what matters most, the facts and the fix. So if you only stay for a minute, you'll leave with value. If you've been struggling with bloating, nausea, or discomfort after meals, well, you've probably seen SIBO and H. pylori coming up in your research. Well, here's the short version. H. pylori is an infection that lives in the stomach and changes acid production. SIBO is an overgrowth in the small intestine that disrupts digestion, nutrient absorption, and results from slower motility and impaired digestive secretions. So the way they start, the symptoms that they create, and the way that you confirm them are all different. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you right now. Beginning with the location, H. pylori lives in the stomach and it alters stomach acid, either too much or too little. So if your symptoms feel more like burning, reflux, or upper stomach heaviness, that really is going to point more towards H. pylori. You'll feel that right behind your breastbone, your lower breastbone, in that general area, sternum, if you're more familiar with that term. SIBO happens further down. You're going to notice it in the small intestines. It's where the same acids and enzymes should already be doing their job. But if it starts to feel more like bloating, distension, or fullness is the feeling, and especially as it moves into your lower abdomen, that's usually going to be SIBO. Next, let's talk about what these conditions actually feel like. H. pylori, well, that discomfort sits pretty high. It's going to be that burning, gnawing, aching, again, upper abdomen, around the lower breastbone, your sternum there, and it's often worse on an empty stomach or in between meals. You might feel bloated or overly full after only just a few bites. And again, nausea, heartburn definitely is correlated heavily here. Frequent belching, these things are all common. And if you also notice right along with that your appetite's fading or that food is sitting, that's pointing more in the direction of H. pylori. It's a stomach acid issue, which is also going to affect the enzymes, and they're just off balance. And too little acid, you're not going to break down your food, and ultimately that's going to result in some inflammation and some bacterial irritation, and that food starts to linger. Well, SIBO, the symptoms are going to feel a bit different. The discomfort is going to start to spread lower. You'll notice that you're going to have some distension, expansion, if you will, in the stomach, that bloated appearance. Again, you can just think about it as visible bloating. You'll notice irregular bowel movements. This could be constipation or diarrhea. It does tend to lean a little more towards constipation, but it could be either one. You'll tend to experience more gas or even fatigue and brain fog associated with that, or with SIBO, and that's a byproduct of the bacteria fermenting the food that they shouldn't be fermenting. So while both of these are going to create discomfort, the presentation is going to be different. H. pylori is going to feel more like that heavy burning sensation in the stomach, whereas SIBO is going to feel more like pressure and fullness in the intestines. Let's talk about how to confirm it. And that's going to bring us into testing. And I'm going to recommend stool testing for both, but also acknowledge that it's not the gold standard for either. And so kind of makes it interesting. A lot of times you'll hear about breath testing, especially as it relates to SIBO, and you can use that for H. pylori, but we're going to talk stool testing here, and you'll see why. With H. pylori, you can do what's known as a stool antigen test. You can actually look at immune system reactions directly against H. pylori, or you can look for what are called virulence factors, which are the products that are kicked off from H. pylori that are actually causing damage in the stomach. For SIBO, well, if you match up the symptoms that I already mentioned with SIBO, and you associate that with markers of lower enzymes, lower bile, lower acid, well, chances are if those are showing up and you have the symptoms, you probably have SIBO, and that's more of the direction that you need to be thinking about. And here's a key takeaway on that point is that you can have both conditions at the same time. So if you're thinking, well, I'm having some of these and I'm having some of those symptoms, and it sounds like I'm still in both camps, well, you very well may be. And if you're just not sure where to start, it's better to go ahead and check for the H. pylori first, because that's higher up in your GI tract and it can often influence what's happening downstream. But again, point is you could have both at the same time. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button so that I can bring you additional weekly content about your gut health and how to make it make more sense. And if you want to dive deeper into what we've talked about today, where I walk you through the mechanisms, the secondary conditions, exactly how to approach both SIBO and H. pylori, well, go ahead and watch my full video on this topic, how to differentiate H. pylori versus SIBO quickly and completely. You'll find a link right here on the screen, and that's where I'm going to give you full clarity and understanding.